Clause invested all judicial power in this court behind me here, the Supreme Court. It means that all other courts aren't merely inferior, they're derivative. So it's like a big spring is attached from the Supreme Court to all other judicial bodies. And if your rights are being denied and disparaged, if a constitutional issue arises and it's contentious enough, the spring will contract and the case will work its way to the Supreme Court. In the instant case where a state is incompetent to take jurisdiction because the state has a vested interest because it has passed a constitutional article in its state constitution, where does the case lie? Because of the due deference we do give the states, because of their proper powers, although they don't have rights, it triggers original jurisdiction and the case goes from West Valley City, Utah, straight to this court. Because I'm going to win, because the case is, because my standing is good, because it's not harmless error, and because it's the end of states' rights and sovereign immunity, along with Article 1, Section 28 of the Utah Constitution, Title 77, Chapter 37 and 38 of the Utah Criminal Code, they refuse to put the stamp on the notice of appeal. I cannot walk into that court clerk's office and stamp the notice of appeal for her. She must do that. It is not merely obstruction, it is treason for them to pass laws they knew were unconstitutional, then double down by creating a state article, and then spending 20 years playing keep away and destroying my life to prevent the case from being heard and leaving me twisting in the wind by refusing to put the stamp on the notice of appeal. I filed that notice of appeal in 3 different ways. It was even due on my birthday, and I quoted a case decided in the year of my birth, Fallen versus U.S., which says even somebody who's locked up, their notice of appeal is not filed the day the court clerk gets it and stamps it or the judge reads it. It's filed the day they hand it to prison staff or put it in the prison mailbox. Therefore, I filed my notice of appeal 3 ways, all legal, all legitimate. They cannot refuse to put the stamp on the notice of appeal. In addition, this court cannot refuse to hear the case. The court clerks and judges cannot decide. This is not certiorari. The court of original jurisdiction is the Supreme Court. It is the only court that can take up the question of whether a state constitutional article is in fact in violation of the United States Constitution. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You good officers, stand up for us. You know what's right and wrong. All you good judges out there amongst all of the crooked judges out there. All you good judges, stand up for us. You know what is wrong.
About the corruption, dishonesty, and abuse that takes place involving children and families. I'm standing here at the home of Carla and Sarah Johnson, one of the worst stories that I've heard.
I don't think it's right that if you're 17 and you're mature and you know that you don't have a health condition but a doctor says you do because he wants to make money off of you and they make you get a heart surgery because of it. Well, I have a pacemaker now and I'm healthy as a horse before. I never had heart issues before.
Wait a minute, you had a heart surgery?
Yeah.
Is there any evidence of that?
From it still.
Oh my gosh. Do that one more time. I just want to see if this is, So you had heart surgery. Did your mom and dad give permission for that?
No, they didn't.
So they just took this child,
They said that I had no choice. They said I was unhealthy, and since they're my guardian, I get that surgery.
And you are wearing a pacemaker?
Yeah.
And you had nothing wrong with your heart?
I've
you
been to
know
doctors all the times like in my life, and nobody ever said I had an irregular heartbeat. I had an arrhythmia, I had third-degree heart block, which is all the things they said that I had, but it was never the same.
So you ended up with heart surgery and you have a pacemaker. So ultimately, you ended up with CPS and your health as a result is where compared to where it was before you met them?
It's, now that I have this pacemaker, I'm like fight or flight all the time because my adrenaline's pumping, my heart's beating really quick. I just freak out for no reason sometimes. And the only way to get rid of it is just to like relieve stress, and I don't even know how to do that yet.
Oh, I see. So the pacemaker is making your heart go faster than...
Yeah.
And this is another CPS crime against you. So we are going to do everything we can for you to have justice. And I definitely want to stay by your side until you do. And that's why we're here.
Okay.
So I want to thank you for this interview, and we will let America know this is what's going on with our children and our youths. Tell everybody your age again.
I'm 18 years old.
And what happened today?
I just became homeless because I got kicked out of CPS placement.
Because you're 18?
Because I aged out. I turned 18. I'm an adult.
And when did you turn 18?
I turned 18 April 13th.
Okay.
I've been trying to stay as long as I can.
Yeah, just to have a place.
I had to set up where to go.
Right.
And before I could get it fully set up, I got kicked out.
You were being abused there?
Yes, ma'am.
In what ways?
Physically and mentally.
How mentally?
They'd sit there and call me all kinds of names to where I'd sit there and believe it.
Oh, that's horrible. And how old do you remember being when they were calling you names?
For as long as I could remember.
Were you maybe 6 years old when it started? 7, 8? What age
About
were you?
6.
About 6. And you said you're 18 now.
Yep.
So you've lived a life of, would you say, torment under CPS?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the strongest word that could describe it, or something worse?
Pretty much torment and torture. Not allowing me to stay in one school, switching me from place to place, and then just putting me back in bad places.
You mean people taking care of you? Or you mean in
Putting
school?
me back in bad hands
I see.
of people that they say can take care of other people, but then place a child with a foster family and having multiple complaints from that child, including having the foster dad threaten to kill him, and that if it was his choice, he'd have the kid buried 6 feet in the ground in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my God. Well, listen, we're going to be having a rally on Tuesday.
We the people, not we the government, we the people. And we want and demand our sovereign rights back from our government that is committing tyranny and treason upon American families. For kidnapping their children, destroying families, and allowing schools and administrators to use corporal punishment on our children. This is unconstitutional.
This wooden board right here, take a look at this wooden board. I am not even allowed to walk inside of this building with this wooden board because it has been deemed by the U.S. Supreme Justice to be a deadly weapon. Yet we can take this in our American schools and strike American school children on their buttocks, where we have fractured bones, where we're causing paralysis, and even sexual confusion comes from striking children in the erogenous zone of their buttocks. And it looks just like this. Does anybody think that this is okay for a male American educator or any educator to take a wooden board like this and strike it on a developing human being? Clearly this is a young lady. For all he knows, she could be having her cycle on this day, or pre or post. But guess what? It is illegal for the teacher to say to a girl, "Are you on your cycle?" because that is considered an intrusive question.
What do you think about using a paddle on children, sir?
My response is, in my years in education, 35 plus years, the people that were most effective disciplinarians use very little corporal punishment.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that affects a child? In other words, if it's not effective, how does it affect in a negative way?
Adversely.
Yeah.
It affects them adversely.
Yeah.
Corporal punishment does. It's abusive in many cases, and it's inappropriate.
I want to thank this group for being out here for our children who are being left unprotected by Child Protective Services. And I'd like to show a few people who could actually stop the kidnapping, the raping, the school beatings, the torture, and all the other criminal behavior. This campaign is called Arizona Operation Let My People Go. The nickname is AZ-OP. And the objective of this organization is for having U.S. government-funded employees honor U.S. federal protective laws for U.S. citizens who are under the age of 18. child who was kidnapped by Arizona CPS authorities.
The point is the thing is, they're not helping kids. They're just I can't. Madeline's going to have to go to counseling for so long. My son says the last thing I told her was after the last time was, Madeline, I promise I will never let anyone take you out of my home. And he says, now, how can I look at her in the face?
Because it was beyond his control.
Well, I know.
Bless his heart, and she don't understand that.
And then they're worried about supporting their kids. He has a wonderful job. It took him 6 years to get on the fire department, and now that. Who knows? Mentally,
It was all BS in there.
Also take time to click on message board on the home page. It will tell you exactly.
Fight for the youth of our country, especially because they're going to be the ones that's running the country. If you're not protecting them, then who is going to protect them?
That's right.
So.
Well, thanks a lot. Let's see that icon you got on your shirt there. Who you representing? All right, Mark Echo. Yeah. All right. Thanks. Have a good night now.
Okay, it's recording now.
Okay.